Slice off the doors to your Lambo. We're headed to the Bronx. Welcome to Half-Ass Movie Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Half-Ass Movie Podcast, a show where we put together a half-ass theme as an excuse to watch movies. My name is Adam, and joining me today, you had him at Hovercraft, Bruce Leslie.
Hovercraft is the only kind of craft I like to hover on.
Let's say arts and hovercrafts was the class that I wanted in school, but, you know, they're like, no, you got to take home ec. I'm like, all right, shows what you know. I want to do home ec. Actually, I was a little bit mad with home ec. I'm not going to lie to you, because I was a kid, you know, listen, I was a fat kid, so I was a kid that liked to cook. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
so
I took home ec. I get you.
So I was like, man, heck yeah, dude, we're going to get into home ec here. We're going to be doing some cooking. No, we did not. As much as we did, this was the extent of the cooking. I kid you not. Rice Krispie treats.
Well, here
I know we're in middle school, but Jesus.
I was a chubby kid who took home ec because I like to eat, and I didn't realize how much work the cooking was going to be.
Sounds like you at least did some of that. We mostly did like, well, here's how you cross stitch. Here's how you do this bull crap. Now, granted, some of it was fun.
Pillows.
Yeah, I did. I made a Star Trek pillow. That's how much of a nerd kid I was. Everybody, the embroidery was the Star Trek emblem.
Man, that's beautiful.
I think I still have that pillow somewhere around here today. I'm not going to lie to you. I think I may have that nearly 30-plus-year-old little pillow. If I find a picture of it, I'll put it up on the Patreon there and everything. But thank you so much, everybody, for continuing to support this show and everything. Like I said, patreon.com/HMP. Those people are awesome. We are here because it is Jackie Chan-uary. We are almost over with it here, Bruce. Roll a little tear here, but I fear not, man. Because I got to be honest with you. We've been doing, like, this was only just a even short handful of Jackie Chan's kind of earlier Hong Kong American superstar films and everything. So we got not only things that we could eventually go to from that back catalog, his post catalog, post this movie and everything is a whole nother ball of wax that we could get to at some other time. So don't think Jackie's ever going away on the show, kids. He'll be back for sure.
I feel like this isn't going to be our final Chan-uary.
No, the Chan-uary may become a recurring thing here and everything. So speaking of recurring, though, this will be for the people over at Patreon. Someone mentioned it previously to me a couple months ago, and I just want to say it out here while I'm thinking of it in the middle of it. On HMP Volume 1, in the month of February, it was always our goal and mission and everything to review one of the Lone Wolf and Cub movies. And with HMP Volume 2 starting, we are just shy of the last film. So we're going to cover that on Patreon next month and everything. So that's
great idea, Adam.
That's a good way for you guys to come in, and we're going to put that episode out and everything. So we're going to have that last Lone Wolf and Cub movie there in February. So patreon.com/HMP so you can jump on board with that one if you've been a fan of that series. And Lord knows we have. This entire time. We've loved those movies, and so much of, like, we thought, I'd seen the first two and I knew that they were good enough. I didn't know what any of the subsequent ones were, so it was always just a little bit of a gamble, but they've all been pretty darn good, you know, just about no matter what. Even the ones that are kind of crappy are still pretty good.
I get pure joy out of those. I'm so glad that somehow we decided to get linked up with that movie series. Much more satisfying than The Crow, if I may be so bold.
Well, The Crow will come up later in this show. I'll tell you that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, indeed. Before we get all that, again, want to say that thank you to people at patreon.com/HMP, pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone, and, of course, some behind-the-scenes stuff and all of some from, what do you call it? YouTube. That's what I was thinking of. I'm like, words can't come out of my face here and everything. I've been meaning to do it. This last week has been a turd trying to get that stupid video up here and everything. Just editing has just been an absolute turd. So for the love of God, go to our YouTube page and just like my apple strudel video. Just watch it. For the love of God, it took so much work.
It's better than an Android strudel. It's an apple strudel.
Whew, it's a good time though. But I am happy because somebody actually commented and said that they followed the directions and they made it and they said it was good. So, you know.
Well, I am impressed. I'm a person who has consumed many a strudel, but the only strudel I've ever prepared as the toaster variety.
Oh, listen, those are not bad though. I'm not going to sit here and dismiss a toaster strudel in front of our entire audience. That is not how I live.
Pop-Tart who lives in a double wide instead of a single wide.
Oh yeah, it's a fancy Pop-Tart. That's, come on now. It's delicious. So yeah, patreon.com/HMP. And while you're over there at the YouTube, man, if you're listening to us on YouTube, thank you so much. Drop a comment on this and you can be like our top comments here. So the funny thing is, let's talk about this for half a second. The Patreon, or excuse me, the YouTube has two different feeds on it. One is for just the regular videos and stuff, and our podcast client pushes that out as a video, and then YouTube has a way of getting the RSS feed. So essentially there's two versions of the show that come up on YouTube there. So you can watch either one. These are the top comments on both of them. King Solomon's Frog says, top-notch Gen X playground reminiscing on the Patreon feed. Speaking of Patreon, King Solomon's over here plugging for us on the YouTube page.
Woo-hoo!
Gotta love that. But yeah, last week, this week too, we had some wrestling talk and a couple other bullcrap things that were.
I think people, if they didn't know better, would be convinced the ghost of Dusty Rhodes was actually in our pre-show.
Oh my God, absolutely. Yeah. Just that. I'm not going to say anything else. That just needs to be enough. Patreon.com/HMP. Join up at any particular level. We really appreciate it. Trillion actually also commented, and he got a big old giant one here. Let me try to muscle through this as best I can. This was last week about Super Cop. This movie was clearly marketed in the U.S. with Jackie Chan's character being the super cop of the title, but you guys are absolutely right. Super Cop is Michelle Yeoh, and I think the original movie was made with that being the intention. This explains why she stars in Super Cop 2, and Jackie Chan's character is limited to a cameo, albeit one where he's dressed in drag and runs into traffic, jumping over cars in high heels. Damn, when Jackie cameos, he cameos the hell out of it. Adam, that was really Michelle Yeoh on the motorcycle. She's absolutely famous for doing that sequence, and she didn't know how to ride a motorcycle before that. Jeez.
You can kind of tell.
Yeah, because she kind of flies off the top of that train in a no good way. Fun fact, she came out of retirement for this movie, and thank goodness she did, because who knows if Everything Everywhere All at Once would even exist if she hadn't.
Oh, man, the ripple effect.
Indeed. And guess what, everybody? Jackie Chan was the original star, the person they wanted to star in Everything Everywhere All at Once, but then that role ends up going to Michelle Yeoh, which ultimately is a better choice for how kind of things turned out and everything. But that's the case. Pretty wild.
I hope the commenter doesn't mind revealing his identity, but I'm pretty sure that that handle belongs to longtime super fan, super listener Vandiver, Matthew Vandiver.
Oh, is this Vandiver? That makes this okay. Everything makes sense.
He
now.
Loves Jackie Chan.
All the stars have aligned. Police Story 2 is probably my favorite of the franchise, although I do think Police Story 4, a.k.a. Jackie Chan's First Strike, is absolutely delightful. Agreed. Jackie Chan fighting bad guys in a shark tank. Am I right? You are. As far as I'm concerned, oh, Lordy, that's a tough word for me, Matt. What the hell are you doing? Oh, triumvirate. Okay. I'm like, I don't read the word triumvirate very lot, likely because I'm not very often. But as far as I'm concerned, the triumvirate female Hong Kong film stars are Michelle Yeoh, Maggie Chung, Police Stories 1, 2, 3, and 4, Anita Mui, Drunken Master 2, and this movie this week. And you can see all three of them in Hong Kong superhero movies. The Heroic Trio, seen that one, and The Executioner, seen that one. Also awesome. Both on the Criterion Channel and Criterion Home Video. So yeah, man, thanks for that comment. That was awesome.
Sweet, man. That was a very very kind and long comment. I always like it when there's a lot going on.
Heck yeah. You can leave us a comment over there and get your comment read on next week's program, everybody. Like and subscribe and all that kind of good stuff. And let's jump on into it. Today we are talking Rumble in the Bronx from 1995. Here's the IMDb plotline for Rumble in the Bronx. As we know, IMDb 100% correct in everything they say and or do. A young man visiting and helping his uncle in New York City finds himself forced to fight a street gang and the mob with his martial arts skills. I mean, granted, that is correct, but that is about as that. Does that feel like the movie that you watched?
It feels like somebody who is trying to give as few details to the cops as they can without lying.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, hey, I didn't say anything that was untrue, did I? It's like, well, I guess not. Yeah, you told the truth, but like we could need a little bit more. And
where were you on February 7th? The planet Earth.
Okay, fella. But Tad's written us a good one here. I'm going to read Tad. He says, Keon comes from Hong Kong to visit New York for his uncle's wedding. His uncle runs a market in the Bronx, and Keon offers to help out his uncle while he's on his honeymoon. During his stay in the Bronx, he befriends a neighbor kid, beats up some neighborhood thugs who cause problems at the market. Meanwhile, one of those petty thugs, excuse me, but they're not pretty.
I was thinking, well, I guess he's talking about the lady.
Yeah, she's kind of pretty. Meanwhile, one of those petty thugs in the local gang stumbles onto a criminal situation way above his head. Blinded by his greed and involvement, draws in the gang, the kid, Kyung, and the whole neighborhood to a deadly crossfire. The lazy cops fail to successfully resolve matters. Kyung takes matters into his own hands. Needless to say, much spectacular kung fu and outrageous action sequences follow. That comes from Tad Dribrin from upenn.edu.
That means he's an Ivy Leaguer.
Let me tell you, man, them Penn boys be writing some IMDb plot lines out there. I'll tell you that much right now. This is much the same as we had. Well, it's exactly the same, really, as we had here last week. Written by Edward Tang, who also wrote, Your Police Story, Project A, Drunken Master 2, Rumble in the Bronx, all these things, along with Phoebe May. I forget. I'm not really good at names.
I mean, no wrong answer.
Again, same thing with your Police Story and all that kind of good jazz. So, directed by Stanley Tung, who also did Your First Strike, that Mr. Magoo movie that we talked about. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes, sir. And of course, he directed Super Cop and all that kind of good stuff. Starring Jackie Chan, Anita Mui, Francesca Yip, Uncle Bill's back, everybody. Mark Ackerman, who had 78, the main kind of white guy, bad guy there and everything. He died in 98 on the Crow Stairway to Heaven production in Canada that we covered in HMP Volume 1. So, not so great there. However, Gavin Cross, the blonde dude and everything, huge in stunts all the way from 88 until today. Boy, is still kicking it.
Man, good thing that he's still alive after working for Jackie Chan as a stunt coordinator.
So, had you seen Rumble in the Bronx previously to this?
Yes, this is one of those that there was a show on TBS. It might still be on. I haven't watched TBS in a few years. But there was a show called Movies for guys who like movies.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the kind of thing that would be in heavy rotation on that. And I just always found it to be fun. And to me, it's one of those movies that we all have that you can jump in at any point and just go from there. You don't have to see it from the beginning.
Yeah.
And you don't have to stick around to the end. You can enjoy just whatever segment you get to watch. So I have seen it piecemeal many, many times. And I've seen it beginning to end maybe twice.
Yeah. I'd seen it a couple of times. I think at this point, I saw maybe somewhere when I was a teenager. I didn't see it when it initially came out, but I do very specifically remember a friend of mine in middle school talking about it. He was he was this Jackie Chan fan before Jackie Chan was super huge here, but he was kind of the guy who gave me the lore of Jackie Chan. They're like, there's this guy from Hong Kong. He does all of his own stunts. Everybody else in all the movies, those are all fake people that are doing this. This guy is jumping off, and he's telling these stories, and then you're like, what is this guy even talking about? And then he's like, they're doing this Rumble in the Bronx movie. And I don't know if you remember this, but I remember seeing Rumble in the Bronx trailers all the time. I remember so much of this advertisement. It's insane. And I'm sure it was on VHS tapes and stuff too.
This was this just distributed in the U.S. or was this from day one?
This is distributed. So this one's actually New Line.
All right, I'm sorry, I don't
know. That's okay. They all
similar company.
It all gets very confusing, and again, we're looking at the same writer and directors and everything and stars from a movie that was just previously that. So your head would assume.
But anyway. So this was a Hong Kong production that was just distributed in the U.S.
Right.
Because the production value to me and the fact that they shot at least on the same continent as New York City, if not in New York City, it really made it feel like I might have had some studio money. But it felt like Canon Pictures money, not like New Line money.
Well, I would say for 95, I'd put this about New Line money. I would, you know, which is
Fair
pretty,
enough.
which is decent. We're still,
To me, New Line is Nightmare on Elm Street and some other stuff.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. So, and this is kind of like your Nightmare on Elm Street's kind of starting to die out here and everything. Your mid 90s are really starting to get to the tail end of that, and they're looking to do sort of other things. And Bob Shea's always kind of into like, hey, what's going to sell, you know? And this is a movie that you can sell, and they sold the whole thing. I don't think in any of the trailers and stuff there was one stitch of dialogue. Because they didn't want you even like, you know, they just wanted you to see this guy and like all these amazing set pieces and stuff. And you did. And it was just like, it was the greatest, you know, just action, you know, sizzle reel that they put together. And they're like, hey, here's this movie. Go watch it. And we're like, yes, please.
I was a little concerned when the first dialogue in the movie had subtitles. And I was like, oh, man, did I get the wrong version of this? But then he says, no, speak English so you learn to speak it better. So I didn't realize at first that was intentionally supposed to be in Chinese.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, in Cantonese. So I almost think if I was in the movie theater, I might have been so abruptly taken that I would have done like that guy did in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Like, I didn't pay for no subtitles.
I didn't want this. I got excited for a minute. I was just like, "Ooh, do we get a really good version?" And it's like, no, we're doing the Tom Cruise thing that like, which I like this as a narrative in order to do this. You know?
Yeah, it works for me.
It you know, in Valkyrie, where Tom Cruise is writing in German and stuff, and then it falls over to English, and then guess what? That's just telling you everyone that was speaking German, they're now speaking English, so your dumb movie ass can understand it.
Yeah.
So good. I like that we can at least get through that. And also what I love is that it's done in a helicopter shot over the bridge, you know, where it's like we're not even watching their mouths as they're doing it. They're just like, I swear to God, let's start talking English and not stop.
So I guess it's a Jackie Chan movie. It's time right away to have the uncle assessment. What do you think of Uncle Billy here?
Wait, listen, man, he's a stalwart. He's always there. And when he shows up, at least it feels like he's playing like at least an actual uncle this time as opposed to just a colloquial uncle and everything like that.
He's literally his father's brother in this movie.
So that's nice. That's like you'll make him an actual family member instead of an honorary family member. But he's great. He's awesome because like what this guy does, he brings a stupid level of comedy in, but like, and what's nice about this movie is that he's not around super long. He's there enough to have that fun cameo. He's got his wife that comes in. That's a big giant surprise, which is so much fun.
I think that this is my favorite Uncle Billy so far. I mean, you know, there are plenty of Uncle Billy performances I haven't seen yet, but boy, this was a good one.
Yeah, he's so much fun with this. He is clearly having a blast shooting this movie. This guy is having fun because he gets to do all the fun stuff, and it doesn't look like he has to do much heavy lifting as far as like acting and other stuff. He's in for a couple of days and out. I'm sure it was a blast.
And you know, I guess to go ahead and intermingle our talk about the performers with the movie itself on that ride into town, I enjoy how they do something. This movie is a little bit later than when this would have been really in vogue, but I would call it an 80s cliche where you're driving through beautiful, sophisticated downtown Manhattan, you make a left turn, and then all of a sudden it's just absolute chaos everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, like something is keeping them from crossing the street or something. But I love how they set that up. And then I also love how Uncle Billy here has his supermarket, which kind of looks like a super nice Whole Foods or something, right?
Comparatively,
in Hell's Alleyway.
It's a great way to kind of set everything up because, again, we have a character coming from Hong Kong to America here and everything. And, you know, especially when you get to America and you're in New York City and stuff, that's wild. That's a completely different kind of world change here for you and everything. And it seems to be that thing that you were all promised. And then you take this right turn into the Bronx. And then it's like, oh no, we're in Mad Max territory over here. Some things are a little bit wild and crazy. And that's what's kind of cool. It gives you this high hope expectation for this character and then brought back down to earth to what he's going to really need. Because it's what you got to do.
But, you know, then they go into this pristine, beautiful supermarket. I mean, it's just absolutely spotless. all white floor, ceiling, walls. Everything's stacked up really neatly. And then they're just going to proceed as this movie goes along to absolutely trash that place. And I think if it looked more like a real bodega, it wouldn't be nearly as much fun watching it get trashed later in the movie.
Oh, the level to with which things are set up to, like, you go, well, somebody's diving into that wall of Pepsi right there. You know what I'm saying? That pyramid of Pepsi cans, somebody gonna get thrown into that.
Yes.
You know these things. It's so much fun.
And anybody who's read Nerd Spawn Genesis knows that I love the reveal on who his new auntie is going to be. Like, that's kind of my kind of humor. I know it's pretty primitive, but I love it. I just thought it was hilarious. I like the idea of subverting expectations on romantic couples.
But the nice part is they even play with it a little bit, because he goes, "Hey, go meet your new auntie down here," and he goes up to what he would assume is the cute Asian girl that's working there. She's got her little clipboard, so she at least works there. Thank God, you know. So he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" Like, he's kind of flirting, like, you know, it's almost a weird flirt way. Was like, what's going on here? And like, at the same time too, I'm sure he's thinking like, how's my uncle getting this girl? That don't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. He's not saying it, but like, I feel like that's kind of the vibe too, where he's just like, what is this?
I'm thinking she must be marrying him for the money or whatever. She wants to own that grocery store.
No, and then
go ahead. When they're hiring the new girl or what have you, I'm also kind of confused what's going on there.
Wait, hold on. But we didn't get to the wife there. But so then, like, so he thinks that it's that lady. It's like, no. Here's your auntie. And then it's just a heavyset black lady. And she is so happy to see him. And the look on his face is like, what now? What am I doing here? She plants a big old one on Uncle there and everything. And just that great. If there was a cartoon like kettle drum in there that went boom, you would understand. And you'd be like, yeah, I get it. It's fair enough.
I believe this is the inspiration for that storyline with Napoleon Dynamite's brother.
Don't be jealous, because I can get all the chicks, man.
Oh, but I found that to be so much fun. And then I was a little confused on what was going on when they hired the new clerk or whatever. You know, the lady's in there with like a legal contract, and I guess it's her father, but I thought it was like a lawyer or something. And I thought, is she there to buy the grocery store? And the next thing I know, she's working there. And I'm like, did she buy it? But she's still working there? What happened to Uncle Billy? I was all over the place with that part of the story.
Yeah, I feel like there may be a little something lost in translation at that point.
You have to pay Bill Murray when you say that.
And again, some sort of checks in the mail, some sort of localization problem. Maybe that's even possible. Maybe somebody's cut something, or like they're just like, listen, American audiences aren't going to understand what the hell we're talking about here. Just put in some bullshit.
But I guess that was like maybe a measurement of Hong Kong culture, that even for the simplest job, you dress as nice as you possibly can. You know what I mean? That might be saying something there that would make more sense to us if we were also immigrants from Hong Kong or China or whatever.
Great. I feel like you got to love it. Now, they say one-way mirror. Isn't it a two-way mirror? Because I think all mirrors are one-way mirrors. They look right back at you.
Yeah, I always heard it called a two-way mirror, but you know what? I'm not the kind of person who would correct someone if they were sitting there explaining it to me in real life. I just go with it.
It depends on what they look like. If I thought I was smarter than them, I'd probably bring it up. I'd be like, hey, ain't that wrong? What are you, stupid?
Oh, I was going to say, if I thought I was tougher than them, and I don't think I'm tougher than anybody. So,
well, that's a nice part too. Is like being a big dude. I could just like, oh, would you want to escalate this further?
A one-way trip to this two-way mirror?
Smash. Again, cool stuff, fun stuff here. Again, Jackie leaning into that kind of, Hong Kong vaudevillian sort of like vibe here and everything, where he's just, and again, this is a Marx Brothers routine. You know what I'm saying?
You just invented something. He's Hongvillian.
Ooh, there you go. That's a good way to put it. But he's so much fun with this, and then playing off like with her and everything, setting up that relationship. But there's never really a good big romantic relationship in this movie, which is kind of they kind of shied away from Jackie with ladies a little bit.
And I think if there was one, it was more set up to be with the big sister, the boy in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
And I never could understand exactly what the people who made this movie felt the necessity of that other woman's role was. Because, and I'm not saying that it's not, anyway, I just kind of wonder what they were trying to communicate with me through that character, because I felt like she didn't contribute a whole lot other than just some comedic sidekick stuff, which is a fine reason.
So Danny's the kid in the wheelchair. You're talking about her sister, his sister.
No, I'm talking about the coworker. So his sister makes sense to me. It's
right.
The coworker who I wasn't sure what they were trying to communicate through her, other than just somebody for him to talk to at work.
Well, yeah, she, like an absent kind of like Uncle Billy can't be there, so but he obviously can't be in the store the entire time because that can't be this movie. So like I guess they needed to replace. And again, I don't know why it couldn't have just been Uncle Billy, but you know.
She's the Woody Harrelson and Uncle Billy's coach.
I like that analogy. That's not bad.
But I kept thinking that one of those two would clearly end up being like the good woman, and one would end up being the bad woman, but it didn't play out that way.
No, I mean, listen, there's redemptions for all kinds of characters. We'll get to that. But we got the little kid Danny in the wheelchair. Like this can either go one of two ways for sure with little kid actors and stuff like this.
And I know this is a little bit off track, but about the kid in the wheelchair, I would love to have the kind of confidence it takes to steal a cushion from a kid in a wheelchair. Like that guy doesn't even need a cushion. He's just doing it to prove he can. That is one of the most like cruelly funny. It's cruel that I find it funny, and it's wrong.
Yeah,
maybe that I find it funny, but it's hilarious that a tweaker would decide, you know what, I need that cushion. Just knock the kid out of the wheelchair, take it, and run off. With a $7 cushion.
Listen, I always say it's like, listen, the reason that like offensive and bad jokes are funny because sometimes it's just like, wow, I can't believe someone would actually say that out loud. Like sometimes that's why it's funny. It's like, wow, that's messed up, and it can be funny.
Oh man, I think there was another scene. Is it okay if we just sort of jump around?
No, because I want to talk about that Game Gear that he gave him.
Please go.
First off, I was mad. I was just like, he's like, I don't know why they make a deal of it, but they give him a Game Gear at some point. But it doesn't like a lot of these shitty movies, man. They don't have a game in it. How's he playing a game? There's no game. There's no cartridge in the back of the Game Gear, bro. It's an empty slot. I seen people do it with Game Boy and on television and movies. I'm thinking that they think, oh, somebody's going to see the name of the game or something on the back, and then they're going to ask for. Here's the thing. I don't care if it's
tape on it.
But even so, even if you don't, I don't care if it's the Game Gear or the Game Boy or whatever. There's usually not enough of the title sticking out to where you can even really see it. But it being empty is
like an
wrong.
Old Atari cartridge.
Ugh. It's so, exactly. The Atari one would at least be like written on the top, and that would make sense. It would just be a gray bit that's kind of sticking out the back that you wouldn't even notice. But you know what I do notice? An empty Game Gear making video game noises, which, by the way, it had a better sound system than that. So they had good quality sound in 1990 when they threw that bad boy out there. That thing was way ahead of its time.
Was the dubbed sound? If you watch the Hong Kong version, it sounds great.
He was playing Mortal Kombat 2 like I was doing. Cool. Makes sense.
So the sister, man, how old do you think Billy is?
Oh, Uncle Billy's got...
I'm sorry, the kid, not Billy.
Oh,
how old do you think the kid in the wheelchair is? Danny. Yeah.
Danny's like 9.
And then his sister's like 23?
That sounds about right.
So first off,
she might be. Listen, in the world, she's she could be 19 to 21. I'd put her in that range.
I will give her even down to 19, but I don't know that any 11-year-old boys, whether they're in a wheelchair or not, are jealous of other boys playing with their sisters at the park. Because man, I've raised 2 boys that have a sister, and they don't particularly want to play with their sister when they go to the park. Well, I mean, they're grown now, but it's like they might be jealous of the kids running around and playing with one another, but specifically their sisters. I want to know what kind of weird red tube kind of park this guy's going to.
Where did your boys ever just kind of start trying to sell your daughter off to other people? Go, hey, she cute though. She cute though. No. Come on now. I thought that was another weird where it's just like, hey, you like my sister? My sister's pretty cute. Come on, you like her?
Yeah. My sister needs, she needs a little vitamin. You know what?
At the same time, too, though, like maybe he was trying to get, like, and I just thought about this, like maybe he's trying to get her out of the relationship with the gang guy and everything, where he's just like, for the love of God, just please, you seem like a normal guy that just works at a grocery store. Could you please, like my girlfriend instead of this white guy that's a maniac?
I don't know if he's aware that she's in that gang lifestyle because he thinks she's off. What is she doing? Supermodeling and air.
I always thought that. I thought he was lying for her. That's what I always thought.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. But
because like she's making up stuff. He's just like, oh yeah, she's a model and all this and stuff. I'm just like, she's got 5 jobs, man. She ain't Jamaican. Get out of here. That's no.
But she is the one that I kind of expected to be the love interest. And I thought they were going to flip things where the bad girl's actually the good girl. The good girl's actually, I gave it a little too much credit for its love story because there is not one. I tried to brute force it in there.
One of my favorite head scratching lines in this movie is when Uncle Billy looks at him and he goes, "What can I say? Welcome to America, my nephew." He said "my nephew" in a really peculiar way. I'm just saying. I was just like, "My nephew."
Who was
what?
Who was the guy? I can't remember who the person was, but there was a person who was high ranking in entertainment that was never married, but he had a whole lot of nephews that would spend time with him in Malibu. Oh. And that's what I think of when he says, "My nephew," this striking man who's incredibly fit and loves to wear tight clothes.
We got Chekhov's expensive car borrowing. That's always a fun one.
Think about that car. Let's start off at first. That car is kind of wild, right? Like,
I love it, dude. Like if you're gonna drive around in something opulent, do it like that, dude. That's badass.
I think it's pretty darn cool, but it also requires a little suspension of disbelief. That's not the kind of car you're going to loan out the night before. At the very least, it's garage kept at night, and you have to
exactly. You're going to let them park it on the street overnight? What are you, stupid?
In the Bronx, where they do some dirt bike car top racing.
They've clearly labeled this as Hell's Alley over here, and you're like, let's park this very expensive car in the middle of the street in the middle of the night. No, don't do that, you idiots. You deserve that.
And the way that he stands up to him, it turns out to be the lady. And that's what I'm thinking. What are the chances in a city the size of New York that the person trying to ride their dirt bike across your car is an attractive female about your age with your cultural background?
Little to none.
It sure worked out for good old Jackie.
Boy, he just trips right into it, don't he? I love that scene where like it's these great Canadian backlot sets here and whatnot. So fun because they're just a little chintzy looking. It's that perfect kind of on the border. It's almost good, but it's not.
At times, I almost felt hints of Shrunken Heads.
Yeah, but like them like. The actual stunt of them like riding all the dirt bikes and stuff on the car, real cool.
And super cool looking. Smooth. I mean, Jackie Chan's movements are just so fluid. He's beautiful to watch like a dancer, and the way he slides down that fire escape and drops on the car just in time to head her off. I really like that.
What do you figure about Jackie Chan's underwear? That's what we're going to call this, because that's what it technically is here altogether, because he's wearing like a little bit of a onesie, and he wears it a bit in the film. I feel like I need to get your take on this.
Oh, I think that's called a union suit.
Okie dokie.
For some reason.
No, I think you're right. Yeah,
because they're like all one piece, so it's like a union of the top and the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And if I owned one, everyone would know about it. I'll just leave it at that.
That's true. You look like Brutus the Barber Beefcake or something.
It is. It's little more than a wrestling singlet made out of cotton.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. If you got that Jackie Chan body, you can wear that real easy, though. That's the thing.
That is kind of a nice thing. Is not only his body, but his implied skill at fisticuffs. You can get away with wearing pretty much anything.
Yeah. But it's like this guy, you're still not going to mess with him. That guy comes in his little, singlet there and everything. And you're like, you know what? I'm just not going to fight him. I'm I'm good. I'm all good.
Yeah.
Very Canadian. See, again, everyone is just Canadian and it's so great. It just
Canadian Bronx.
Their thoughts of what Americans are and sound like. Everybody's got an Italian name, but no one looks Italian.
I like how the diamonds just shoehorn their way into this plot. Like, man, they're like, okay, we got to get these diamonds in here. Let's just do it the most blunt force way we can. And then I started to think, if I saw a car wreck and I went in and I was so inclined to steal from the car wreck victim, and I stole a briefcase and it was just filled with a bunch of diamonds like that, how do you turn that into money? Do you like sell them on Etsy? I really have no idea how to move diamonds.
Okay. I would just, at this point, we're looking mid-90s here in the Bronx, in our fictional Bronx here and whatnot. I feel like there is at least one super dirty pawn guy, or maybe a series of them.
They
you
probably
fence
have a
it
fence
somehow.
who could handle.
Yeah.
Because I know you take stolen stuff to a fence, but I don't know if a fence handles $7 million.
It's a bit much. You may
have to go to like 10, 15, 20 fences to move them all. You know what I mean? But I haven't seen Uncut Gems, but isn't there something in there about moving jewels, like maybe the Diamond District or something?
Yeah, it's a tough thing. That's a completely different. I can't even.
Yeah, here in West Virginia, what I do, go to the pawn shop. Hey, what do you give me for these diamonds?
Hey, I got an old DSLR and a boot. Can I get a? I need to get an engagement ring. What are we looking at here?
Oh man, so that's why I was like, just sell them one at a time on Etsy. Just make little diamond rings out of them.
Speaking of diamonds and weddings and everything, Uncle Billy's wedding is actually pretty nice.
It is very nice. There's good money in the supermarket business.
I guess
to put
so.
Up with the risks.
That place looked lovely. Everything was just like, oh, this nicer than my wedding was. I'm like, man, this guy's going all out here. But then again, he could take like a week's long vacation for his honeymoon and stuff. So I guess he's doing all right over there.
He's got his nephew to take care of.
That's true, and he did just sell 10% of his business to the lady and stuff. So,
and my favorite part of this movie is what we're getting ready to talk about here soon. When we get the whole kidnapping and the sting operation. And I'm trying to hold myself back before we get there. So what do you want to talk about next, Adam, before I plow right into the hovercraft?
Well, I wrote so Jackie's walking home at night there, and all of a sudden he gets an old dose of what I call the rape ruse, whereas he thinks a rape's going on, and he's a good guy. He's our hero, man.
Yeah.
So he's going to go in and try to stop this. Whoops-a-doodle. Turns out she was faking the entire time, and this was just a ploy to lure some schmuck in that they can go. And that's when the entire movie really just takes off, because they get so mad at this guy. It is unbelievable. Bruce, I listen, you and I,
yes.
There's a couple of moments where we can be jerks to people. We get that. But
believe me, I know.
And people have been jerks to us. But have you ever been the jerk or had somebody be such a jerk that you would follow them around the city?
No.
It's
not.
Unbelievable how much offense they take to everything, the length with which they will go to fight this little Asian man who's just trying to get through life. For the love of God, just leave him alone for 10 minutes. And it's like 40-1. There's a million people that are in this. It's not a biker gang. It's like an ATV gang, because there's like little dune buggy kind of dealies and dirt bikes and
side by sides. Yeah,
it's all kinds of stupid stuff. So I can't call them a biker gang, but they're definitely it's what
they're
again
a street gang.
What Canadians think an American street gang is.
Yes, it's kind of like the one from that Batman and Robin movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just put we put all the little lights and stuff on it. So again, you got to make it look cool.
Once again, it's the street gang from Shrunken Heads. That's why I like this movie so much.
Yeah, I like the Diamond Heist is just so, because these characters, the Diamond Heist characters, like you said, they come out of nowhere. All of a sudden, there's like these black dudes in the back of this car, and they're talking in these like just really thick, weird accents because it's all dubbed and stuff. And you're like, who are these guys? What movie are they from? And indeed, they're basically from another movie.
Yes.
They're almost another movie is going on, and we've kind of intercepted this movie, and then our villains are like, well, shit, I want in on this action and then steal all the diamonds.
I love how the guy reaches out his hand to get help, and the other guy just starts pulling his Rolex off. Like, that is a class act.
No, let me get you with this. And then the gall to just throw the grenade in it and blow the whole thing up.
That takes instincts, my friend. That's what I call excellent instincts. I wouldn't be that quick on my feet.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Also, I
listen.
wouldn't have a grenade at my.
But that's what I'm saying. Very opportunistic, having that grenade at your side there, ready to roll, just in case.
Ma told me to leave the grenade at home this morning.
Leave your grenade. You're not gonna need it, she said. What an idiot!
Now who's a sucker?
Let's see. I wrote my nightclub. What does that mean? I don't remember. So no, New York nightclub is what that was supposed to be. So our main girl here, who's the sister of the wheelchair kid, which, by the way, this is confusing to me, and I apologize to anybody in the audience with the name Dan or Danny here. Why is that often a name for somebody with some sort of special needs? Be it this kid, the kid in the room. There's a lot of Danny.
I never thought about that.
Danny's very often a name that's kind of
I think it all starts with Danny Bonaducci.
Yeah. Oh, now it all makes sense. Take back everything I said.
I think the chances of him hearing me say that are very low. But if he does hear me say that, I'll find out that he heard.
When all the gangs throwing the bottles at him at the end of the alley is pretty wild.
It is.
I mean, and it's especially for a Jackie Chan movie and stuff, it's very hateful in a lot of ways, because a lot of his fights and stuff are just kind of they're fights.
They're just fun. Yeah.
This is we are cornering this single man in this alley and constantly shattering bottles around his entire body. It's that's wildly messed up. And
we do get a rare real big beatdown of Jackie Chan. I mean, we see him lose and get beat up in some of the other movies we've watched. But, just focusing on Jackie Chan-uary this year, this is the best beatdown he's gotten out of these 4 movies.
Oh, for sure. He gets it bad. The weird thing, though, and I'll mention this, is just as a thing, and I know that this is the case. It's what you had to buy, what was available to you to buy. But 90% of the bottles that are being thrown at him are all green.
Because of the breakaways?
I guess they're the cheap breakaways that they could get, and they're we can get a lot of these. There's some clear ones in there, but the majority of them are that same green. And of course, they show them emptying out these garbage cans with liquor things and all this other stuff, but those are in clear bottles and stuff like that. But most of the are just regular kind of beer-sized bottles that are look like Rolling Rock or whatever.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I like the can-do attitude, so as long as they threw something, I'm happy.
But here's the thing. There was so much going on and so much shattering and stuff. And again, you get put into that situation to you feel like you're that, because he's not Super Cop here. He's just kind of a regular guy who can do some martial arts and stuff like that. But it's not and that was what was cool with the little, the dummy at the beginning and stuff, where we just we plant that little seed there, then we don't do anything, and we show how he's kind of muscly, and then we just again, we're holding back, and then boom, we get that big giant. But you can kick somebody's ass enough to where they just want to follow you around the movie, I suppose.
I suppose you can. It works sometimes.
One of my favorite bits was Angelo, the white-haired guy who stole the diamonds initially, when when he goes undercover as a yuppie.
That is pretty good.
Puts a little sweater on. He's riding a bike and everything, going on to try to steal the thing and stuff. Really great. I love the guys that are putting the dude that's put into the wood chipper. That's an awesome scene. And the guy who's doing it, I'm going to call him the father of Rami Malek, because that guy looks exactly like Rami Malek. He just does.
Excellent call there.
Got those weird eyeballs there and everything, which, by the way, have you seen the trailer for the new Rami Malek movie? It looks awful.
I don't think I have. I don't even know the name of it.
I don't either, and I've seen the trailer at least twice. But he's not a leading man. I don't know why they keep trying to do this like he's some tough guy. His role almost feels like Taken. Like he's trying to do something like that. And I'm you just can't. He's such a dork. You can't see him beating up people like that. I'm sorry. I just don't buy it.
Yeah, that's more of a Timothy Chalamet kind of role.
Oh, yeah. I like when so all the guys come in, they rip up the store again, right?
Yes. And this poor store had a rough day.
Yeah, she had a rough one. He comes in, the store's all jacked up and everything, and she basically gives him, "Hey, man, if you weren't on a date, this store wouldn't be in shambles."
I do like that.
She just she totally just wrecked him there, and he's just and here's the thing, she's not wrong.
Right.
They wouldn't have done anything right there, but man, that is tired. But we get to the point where Not only do they just wreck the store, the entire store gets leveled where they attach the thing and then rip the entire store basically from its foundation to where at the end, our girl is sitting outside using the bathroom. She's just like, what the hell's going on here? I hate this. I hate everything about this. This is the worst. Hey, you're not wearing any pants. She's like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about none of this shit. She's so mad of what's going on. Then she does realize her pants are down, pulls them up. And she's like, what the hell's going on here? It is so insane. And just when you think that the movie couldn't get any crazier, enter hovercraft.
And that's the reason I love this movie, the reason I've seen this movie more than once. This is that Jackie Chan hovercraft movie anytime I'm talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
And the behind the scenes of it makes me love it even more, just knowing that he did a lot of that with a broken foot that had a sock over his cast. And
that sock is amazing. It looks just like his shoe, and then they have a little zipper on the side so he can cut the whole thing in there. Awesome.
I could just imagine a producer or something coming down to visit the set one day, and they're like, "Oh, this dangling off of a hovercraft sounds really dangerous. Where's your stunt man?" It's like, "Oh, the guy over there in the wheelchair with the broken foot."
Thumbs up.
He's going to do it.
But he broke his foot jumping that initial jump off there, off onto the hovercraft.
Do you think there's a scene where he goes down, the hovercraft runs over him, he's buried in the sand, and he pops up. Do you think Jackie Chan really got run over by a hovercraft? Because I think you might be able to survive that, but I don't know for sure.
Oh, I'm sure that. I don't know to what extent or whatever. I don't know how they did it, but they ran his ass over with this. They ran him over. Now, the last guy, our main villain here at the end, and we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. But I think that one, I think they cheated that one a little bit. I think you can kind of point out where they kind of cut or maybe did it backwards or something like that to kind of obviously do it a lot more safely. But Jackie's, I can almost, it feels he's going under that thing. We ain't faking that. That's him, dude.
Later on, I found out there's nothing cooler than Jackie Chan in a Lamborghini with what I'll call a Voltron sword.
Oh my
attacking a hovercraft. Everything about that is an awesome scene.
Yeah, the fact that the hovercraft goes over the Lambo, strips the paint off the top and everything. This is what's so great about the whole setup. Because they get the Lambo there. They have them ride the hovercraft over, rips all the paint off. This guy's pissed, gives him an excuse, and he's got a girlfriend there. Again, we're building great excuses here for everything. So then the doors will be up so we can smash those off later. Perfectly stuff. He goes off. He's walking away, leaves that Lambo wide open. And then, of course, it is short enough to go right underneath that thing so you can smash those off. Again, another awesome thing that you want to do in action movies all the time. Throw some car doors off there. Absolutely cool. And again, this awesome video game almost situation to where he sees something. He's like, oh, shit. And goes into the store and pulls out it is essentially a Final Fantasy sword.
I don't know where they got it, but it's an anime weapon.
Yeah.
This is something crazy. And then they get a kick-ass shot of Jackie Chan speeding down the road in that Lambo with no doors and the sword sticking out. I think that they just captured that beautifully.
And him just
he executed it.
The way that he's bracing for it, with his, I think it was with his foot there and everything, just to make sure everything's kind of sitting in the right spot as it's going through. Oh my God, it's so cool. It may be the coolest Jackie Chan's ever looked.
I also like it that when they need to repair the hovercraft, all it takes is duct tape.
That is also fantastic. Which, let me tell you exactly how this worked. And I don't know this, but this is my best guess. That all stuff came first. We're or secondary or whatever before the actual scene. They're like, listen, we're going to put some tape around it. That's going to be the fix for this because we know he's going to cut here and then, film him out of order there and whatnot. That would be a guess.
The idea that Jackie Chan is so dedicated to the craft that they really had to drive around in a duct taped hovercraft.
Oh man, that thing is insane. But again, the late 80s and early 90s were rife with hovercraft of all kinds.
And I would have loved to have lived in a hovercraft-friendly city. I really would have. There's no better means of conveyance. You got a hovercraft, you're good if it's snowy, you're good if it floods, you're good if you just want to take a shortcut across the river.
It's kind of wild, really, when you think about it. The fact that this thing can do all the things that it does, and pretty well. I mean, as huge as that thing is, and those things are pretty nimble.
I'm surprised that they haven't really caught on because of their versatility.
I feel like ultimately what it kind of comes down to is, and again, I don't know nothing about hovercrafts, but my guess is it feels like it might be a little flighty. You know, like you could just maybe knock it off track a little bit, or the preciseness of it might be a little bit difficult.
I think that high winds would be a problem.
Again, I don't know how any of it really functions. As far as I'm concerned, it's magic.
I don't really either, but I'm going to guess if there's no actual contact between the bottom of it and the surface, it's like an air hockey puck. So high winds, it probably blow you off.
Yeah, but at the same time, too, it's like there's got to be some weight on it somehow. So it's like, how is, anybody sitting underneath this thing when they get hit with it? Because at least one or two people was hit with this thing in this movie. That's for damn sure.
There'd have to be a lot of downforce from that airflow to hold it up in the air, but
I don't know. Hey, if you are a hovercraft expert, let us know in the comments or half-ass movie. Yeah, the links in the show notes.
Yeah, we want to hear from the hovercrafties.
Hovercraftians, get on that and let us know what the hell's going on here, because I do know this much I'm sure of. That hovercraft pushed Jackie Chan down into the sand. I could buy that.
Yep.
And you know what I buy even more? It driving on a golf course, running over a rich old white guy, and ripping the back of his clothes off, so then his ass is exposed, and we get some and there's blood track marks coming up his back because this thing just took his ass out and whole. It's great.
You have to pay extra to get a hovercraft that takes the clothes off their butt cheeks.
Humiliated as always. Ooh, got him again.
So, most popular model is the Butt Cheek 2000.
It is weird that there's an entire crowd there watching. What's that all about?
They heard they were shooting a Jackie Chan film on a golf course.
They're just like, man, there's going to be a hovercraft in this one. They're like, all right, fine. Spectators are watching them play golf. I don't know. Just
because that's the only way I can explain it, because it does not add enough to the movie that you'd pay extras to be there.
Why? What's the reason? It's not like it doesn't look like
it's not a golf tournament. It's just a guy playing golf.
You're looking for a television crew or something, or like all the other people that are in the, other foursomes and stuff that are out there. Nope, that don't exist. It's not a thing.
I also love how quickly one can become certified to pilot a hovercraft.
Oh my God. It's just like fucking flying a kite. You know what I'm saying? You just roll out there and it just happens.
He's like, you push this button, you push this button. Got it? Jackie Chan
I do like the threatening of people that are driving the hovercraft, and like that poor schmuck has to drive all through there, and of course they're like, I'm not gonna do that, give me the wheel. Always love bull crap like that. Just like great just movie nonsense that's just so perfect to have into everything. It's just, I'm going this way, damn it. Any of that sort of stuff. Very, very fun.
The hovercraft just looks so cool moving across the grass of that golf course.
And there's so many people in the way. It's like, it looks dangerous. There's so much, up on the beach and then out to it's just, everything looks like you're going to, and again, when it hits Jackie, you do like, oh, Jesus, how do you, with that one? And of course, his skiing and stuff, we skipped over the skiing.
The water skiing.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Hovercraft.
Again, people weren't, Tom Cruise wasn't getting himself on the back of speedboats back in 1995. Jackie Chan was the dude that was doing that, man. And it's just so cool.
Gives us such a satisfying product, man. Just overall, this movie is exactly what you want it to be.
Yeah, and exactly. And we waste no time here, because once we have, run over Rich Whitey and ripped the back of his clothes off and exposed his butt cheeks to these onlookers for whatever reason, because it's fun, I suppose, we just laugh. And then freeze frame, close credits. That's it. And we just roll into it. Which, by the way, I mentioned it previously. By the end of the movie, the main bad guy is with them he's become their buddy all of a sudden, and he's just like, yeah, let's get this guy too. I mean, I suppose he's right, because he jacked with his buddies and stuff.
The organized crime folks are after the street gang just as much as they're after Jackie and his family.
Yeah. No, they became buddies, though. So.
Kind of cool. Yeah, Tony or something. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, it was one of those like, hey, you're an Italian, but none of these people look Italian at all.
Tony.
Unbelievable. Now, as we are asking in all of our Jackie Chan-uary episodes here and everything, is Jackie Chan doing it in this movie?
Oh, man, he's doing it, and doing it well.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, again, This is the movie that really brought Jackie Chan to American audiences here and everything. I would say this is like that breakout role that would then lead to, quickly thereafter your Rush Hours and all that kind of good stuff, because that's very not far behind this. So Jackie's really becoming this big giant thing. And you know why. He's been doing it for many years at this point, actually. And he's got that charisma down here and everything. He's absolutely a leading man. And they mentioned it a couple times in this movie. He's a cute fella. He's a good-looking, kind of normal, everyday-looking guy,
with some nice biceps.
Yeah, he's a built-looking dude, but he's a handsome-looking guy, but he's not like overly handsome to where you would hate him and stuff. And because
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah. He's not so handsome that you want to punch him.
No, he's got that kind of everyman quality about him, but this everyman can whoop every man's ass. That's the funny difference about it.
He's the Dusty Rhodes of Kung Fu.
Exactly. Now, again, we do this. This is the toughest part of the show here and everything. But if you had to recast this role, who would you have? And of course, as always, if you can't replace that, you have to replace it with somebody who's absolutely terrible. So for me, it's about impossible to replace Jackie Chan. So you can't go wrong with that. So I'm going with 1995's John Goodman.
Oh, I was going to go with Steven Seagal.
That's a good
trying
one.
To jump on the Jackie Chan train. I could see him actually thinking he could do it.
I think Goodman needs it right here, okay? Because he's just off a Hudsucker Proxy, right? He just finished up the Flintstones, though. That's the big one.
Goodman. Don't get me wrong. I'm always pro Goodman.
So he's fat, he's sweaty. He'd be perfect for this role for the Jackie Chan role. Put him in that, and he's probably 35 at the point.
Thinking about the physical comedy, how about Chris Farley?
Listen, there's some comedy that could be had in this.
Yeah.
Even more so. I mean, listen. I mean, it's kind of like, obviously he's not the same because he's going far more over the top, but it's like putting Samo in there. You have a big fat guy. Yep. You do just change the comedy level a little bit, to be sure. And I'd also like to think the idea that Chris Farley says he's from Asia.
And then you have to recast the main bad guy with David Spade.
Who did this main guy? I kept watching this going this feels like somebody that I've seen, maybe a network television. You ever remember the show The Pretender?
I remember the show, but not well.
Yeah, I feel like this guy feels like that guy and a couple other guys. Like he feels like the Kmart Vince Vaughn is what he feels like.
I think that's an excellent assessment of that person's market value.
Yeah, poor fella. So all movies come in two forms, either art or fart. Bruce, Rumble in the Bronx, art or fart for you, sir?
We got the much coveted quadfecta for Jackie Chan-uary, because I think I've given art to all four of them. And this one is the artsiest of the artsy movies that we've watched.
Absolutely.
Art house, if you will.
Yeah, this movie's great. It's one of those that kind of, like you said, Bruce, it's one of those great movies that you could pop in anytime. And my guess would be, and I could be wrong, but I put damn good odds on this, is that this feels like a TBS classic.
Yes.
Doesn't it?
Movies for guys who like movies, man.
Exactly. You could throw this on TBS at any time you're scanning around those channels. Boom, Rumble in the Bronx is on. You're likely to stop on that movie. And why? Because it's good. It's got a lot of great stuff in it. And again, just watch the trailer. The trailer is such a sizzle reel for Jackie Chan and is what sells America on him and does a damn fine job of it because, like I said, he blows up, in this country after this, to be sure. So, highly recommend Rumble in the Bronx if you haven't seen it. Is it a little bit cheesy? Is it a little bit 90s? Is it a little bit Hong Kong 90s, even though it's shot in Canada? Yeah, but you know what? That don't matter. That's also that's not a bug. That's a feature.
No false advertising. There is a Rumble, and it is in the Bronx.
Mm-hmm. That will do it for this episode of HMP. Next month, we have another theme, a very interesting theme. It's the Ke Huy Quan theme, everybody. He's got a brand new movie coming, Oscar winner. I think we have to preface that now as the gentleman is an Oscar winner. But he doesn't have a ton of movies under his belt, but we're going to cover the good majority of them over in February and everything. So check that out. We're going to be starting with The one that introduced us to this gentleman. I have to say gentleman now because he's, it's been many, many years, but
yeah, he's like 50 something.
It started out when he was just a young little child in a movie called Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Oh,
Dr.
man.
Jones, Dr. Jones.
What an assignment we all have for next week, everybody. We have to watch an Indiana Jones movie. What a horrible world that we live in. Listen, man, I will take it any day of the week. We get to watch an Indiana Jones movie. I tell you what, I wouldn't even mind watching You know what?
I would watch Crystal Skull for the purposes of a podcast.
I've heard purposes of a podcast. Yeah, there's something about that. There's something that we can put in at some point. But
we watched that Indiana Jones, the Time Traveler's Daughter, or whatever that last one was.
Yeah. So, go back and listen to those if you want to see some of those other things that we've done. But, and of course, and we'll talk about it back, next month and everything. But we also did Everything Everywhere All at Once on the podcast as well. So if you want to go back and check that out in the archives, you can do that. So good stuff there. That is it, everybody. Join us next week when we're talking Indiana Jones and the Temple. Oh, but follow us on do the Patreon, YouTube. For the love of God, go over to the YouTube. I'm making apple strudel over there, everybody. I'm working really hard. That video took forever for me to do. It was a real pain in the ass. So please, for the love of God, go see it. Write a comment. Leave me a like. I love you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I really do. I want to say this because I think it's either it should be coming tomorrow. My first actual paycheck from YouTube and everything, and so again, woo-hoo. It's lovely. I can't believe that I actually did a creative thing, and it looks like a lot of people liked it and stuff.
Good feeling, isn't it? I'll never forget my first YouTube paycheck.
Very, very, very cool. So again, thank you for liking, subscribing, and commenting, and all that kind of good stuff. And I'm going to be doing a good many things this week with one camera, so I don't have to work so damn hard.
Good choice.
So I gotta, I want to do the fancy videos that take a little bit of time, but I also want to put some stuff out to where I don't also, feel like, jumping out of a plane and screaming. And that's what I felt like by the end of this one, I'll tell you that. So thank you so much for that. YouTube links are in the comments. That'll do it for this episode of HMP. Join us next week for that Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. For the absent sweet Sean's and Kovacs from the internet, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portress, reminding you that the only difference between art and fart isn't